Hello, my name is Mike Robin, and I'm a member of the Aware and Active Citizens of Merrill, also known as the AAC. We are an organization that tries to facilitate dialogue and education and engagement with the public on community topics. At the suggestion of Mayor Steve Haas, and together with the T.B. Scott Free Library and Merrill Community Media, the AAC would like to invite you to listen to voluntary candidate interviews for those individuals running for aldermanic positions in Merrill's 8 districts. All candidates, whether running unopposed or in contested races, were encouraged to participate. The one-on-one interviews will be conducted in an informal setting, and I will be the interviewer. Thanks for listening. Okay, well, we're here with Bill Bialecki, a candidate for the 1st District Aldermanic seat here in the city of Merrill. And there'll be a general election on April 2nd that you'll be participating in. And Bill, thank you for running, first of all. Appreciate that when citizens step up and, take a swing at that and put some skin in the game. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, and maybe, I know, you're going to tell me we're kidding each other. You're a well-known person, I believe, in the 1st District over time. But for those that might not know the background of Bill Bialecki, maybe tell me something about yourself.
Well, as far as 1st District, we'll talk about under qualifications which offices I've held, but I've actually been a resident of the 1st District since 1976.
Okay.
I should say a homeowner. I've been a lot longer than that. I've owned a house in the 1st District for 47 years now, and paid my taxes.
That's okay.
Among other ones, my wife and Judy and I, we live at 10,007 Lake Street. I've been at that residence for 42 years now.
Okay.
Quite a while.
Retired now, at least?
I retired from the electrical trade in 2008. And it's 16 years ago this month, actually.
Long-standing, I know you were in the electrical trade.
Yeah, I was a master electrician. I worked in the trade for 40 years.
Union member during some of that time, or non-union member, or different depending on the job?
I'm still a union member.
Okay.
Retired. Member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I was going to just 47, 3 more years, you'll have your silver anniversary of living in the 1st District.
Yeah, I guess so. Actually, I've lived in Merrill since 1953. I was born in Milwaukee, had a couple years in Stevens Point on the way up. I moved up here in the 2nd grade, so.
So you're a near native of the city of Merrill.
Long enough.
Okay. Well, I know, and you're going to tell us about it, and I'd be real interested in hearing it. Any skills and experiences and things that make you qualified and want to run for the 1st District. Tell us some of those.
Well, first of all, I'll say at my age, if I didn't think I was going to be able to do some good for some people, or I just wouldn't run for it anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm 78, and I'm starting to get selective with what I do for my spare time, but no, I've always had an interest in politics, and I've pretty much been involved in politics in Merrill since I retired. I kind of dilly-dallied around a couple years and actually tried to be retired, but then I ran for mayor in 2010. Mm-hmm. And I did 2 terms as mayor, 8 years. Mm-hmm. During that time, my county board supervisor, he passed away in 2015, so I took his place, and I've been on the county board since then, 9 years, and I'm running for that seat again too in District 1 unopposed, but that's not what this one's about.
Advantages, or how does that work when you're both a potential city alderman and a county board supervisor?
Works good.
Works good.
I'll say you can, cross back and forth and do some things. There's different things you're responsible for in each seat.
Sure.
We've got things in the 1st District facing a county board supervisor.
Sure. Yes.
Pinecrest being number 1.
Sure.
I have to say, being an alderman and being a supervisor at the same time, it should work okay because I was a mayor for 3 years also while I was a supervisor. So.
Sure. In addition, I know another thing you've been concerned both in your city of Merrill political life, but also in the county economic development. And
Yes.
you've got some experience in that. Tell us about what you've been up to in there.
After I left the mayor's job in 2018, the then executive director, Kenny Mall, was getting ready to retire, and I'd been working hand in hand with County Economic Development, which is a private organization, by the way. Don't mistake that it's a county office, but I worked with them hand in hand while I was a mayor. Ken wanted to retire. I had a lot of things I'd been working with them on that I kind of wanted to see through, so I applied for the job and the board hired me, and I just turned over direction of that in September.
Sure.
But I worked at economic development for 5 years too.
For Lincoln County. So that's between the political life that you've had, still are experiencing or whatever, gives you some focus on what you think might be, I know there are probably a handful, but maybe two challenges, big challenges that you see the city of Merrill might be facing going forward, looking forward that you'd like to help solve.
Our child care needs and affordable housing. There's big needs in this community for both of them. I think you've got the right person in there for mayor right now. He knows the need on the affordable housing. I'm sure he'll be supportive of that. And he and I, we even had that discussion today. We plan on collaborating a little more on that going ahead. That's something we really need. This all has to do with workforce development.
Sure.
And right now, all of our employers, especially our manufacturers, are looking for people. If you look in the photos every week, they're buying page after page advertising for help, and this isn't something just started. This has been going on for years now, pre-pandemic even. So it's something that we have to try to address as a community, and we all have to pitch in on it. So.
Right. And I think those are building blocks. You mentioned two of them, that a younger person coming in and trying to start a family or whatever. Building blocks are, I need housing, and then in this world that you also need two incomes, someone's got to take care of kids. And so those are the foundational building going forward.
We've made some strides in our market rate housing over the last several years. We've done real well with that. There's even more coming up now. Single family homes and apartments. We're doing real well there. We still need to get affordable housing for some of our lower paying jobs.
And if you were the alderman, the city of Merrill's governance going forward, just some of the things, how do you help that affordable housing issue or the child care issue as being a government official? What are things maybe the city could continue to work with, or opportunities we might have there?
Just to collaborate with the different groups that are working on it on the site. And over at the county, they got their Dream Up program. That's for childcare. I've been actively involved in that, which I'll stay still. Your daughter is involved in that. So I mean, that's
right. So you see
as a matter of fact. But no, we've made some strides over there. They had some grant money that they got. The young lady that took my place at Economic Development, she's a grant writer by trade, and she's going to get heavily involved with the child care issues.
So kind of private, it's not just a government issue, it's basically a private government issue, if you could have a shared arrangement in that.
In a town this size, it's an issue for all of us.
For all of us.
And that's the bottom line right there. You got to work collaboratively together to accomplish it. I mean, you can't. Somebody told me once that down in Madison, a very famous governor made the comment, who cares which party you belong to? Let's sit down, and who cares who gets the credit for it? Let's just sit down and get something done, and that's the bottom line, and that's the way it should work.
That's
just taking sides, looking for recognition, it doesn't do any good.
Sure.
In most cases, you get the bad kind of recognition. It's just.
And certainly, that should more easily be happening, I'm going to say, at county government level, city government level, because it's it's not a political party on this.
No.
And we ought to move forward together.
It's supposed to be nonpartisan. Unfortunately, sometimes that muddies the waters a little bit. But.
Yeah. Bill, you've been a long-time resident, as we said, in the 1st District. Are there, and you mentioned a couple challenges, I'm going to ratchet it down a little bit to maybe, I'm going to call them neighborhood challenges, or are there anything in the first district that you see or will be seeing on the horizon in terms of things happening in the first district, or things that you'd like to see more addressed in the first district going forward?
Actually, I'm fortunate living in that district. We're in pretty good shape. We've had some additional housing put in. There's more going up all the time. Some things I've worked on in the first district, and they're in the first district, and one is the fairgrounds.
Sure.
I'm really happy how that turned out.
Yeah, festival grounds that we have now.
Yep, definitely.
And that, I think now happening under city governance has helped a lot in making that such an advantage for the city.
Yes, it did. And instead of the normal 10 grand a year in maintenance down there, we stuck millions into it. I'm not going to throw stones at everybody. That's not a good idea. But I'm very glad that we had the people on board when we took it over to drive this thing forward. And those that succeeded me and succeeded some of us has done a pretty good well in keeping that thing developed and bringing it up to its full potential to bring people into the city. That was a great move. The other big thing in my district, and I have to say it too, is Pinecrest. Because people are actually my constituents, no matter which hat I'm wearing, and I got to worry about them.
I can imagine when you went out to get your nomination papers signed or whatever, people may have inquired, because they know it's in the first district.
Oh, definitely.
And right now, that is, as we all know, it's an issue of the moment.
A lot of our seasoned residents live in the first district, like myself. I could be there any day myself too. I'm at that age, so
sure.
You just don't know, and it's something that really matters. I've heard from several people over the last several months.
Sure.
I'm disappointed in some of the moves we've made at the county, and I'll be open about that. I did not back closing down the UW extension. That was bad. I didn't like the stress they put 4-H through. That wasn't good at all.
Yeah.
And now Pinecrest too. I'd like us to find a way to save Pinecrest, and that matters to the whole community too.
And then another area just north of Pinecrest is the Merrill area school district, or high school, and they're going through some issues or whatever. So that's also in the first district, and talking about maybe some expansion in that area. And I think there's going to be a referendum coming up in the spring.
Referendum in April, yes.
In April on that too. So there's some things happening. I know that over the last couple of years, there's been some street renovation in the First Ward, Center Avenue, that kind of goes in there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I don't know of any major road renovations or street projects that are going to be affecting the first district in a big way in the next year or so.
Well, we just redid 10th Street, and I'm very appreciative of the city for doing that. It's the one that runs up from the Dairy Queen.
Yep.
I first put that on agenda on here around here in the year 2000 when I was an alderman. I'm glad it finally, it was actually repaved in that time with all the patching they had to do, but still, I'm glad it got done. It's a big improvement to the neighborhood.
One of my mentors in my life said that sometimes it's the best ideas that take 10 years or more to ever come to fruition.
Well, they got it right, if that makes any difference. But
some of those things happen, so don't get frustrated. You just keep working at it.
I don't see anything real big construction-wise coming up in the district. One thing I am looking at is what the school does with their buildings.
Yep.
Because some of us that have backgrounds in childcare,
right.
We used to have Kids Kingdom there.
Yes, right in the corner there.
Yeah, that's something I put in those buildings as a mayor. I helped them establish, and for reasons they went out of business.
Right.
I've been talking to superintendent and others over there. If those buildings become available with this reshuffling that they're doing, I would like to target them and try to get daycare set back up in there again.
Okay. And then just one other area, wondering about, there's been some discussion over the years about east-west extension of maybe 6th Street, getting out near the Northwoods Veteran Service Center,
yep.
Cemetery. That's been something that's been talked about for several years.
I remember being the mayor and talking to the CEO over at Church Mutual about that. We had a good plan, but unfortunately we didn't get to carry. Oh, was that you? Unfortunately, we didn't get to carry it forward. But still, I think that would be in the long-range plans.
I think that development's always important, and again, that's right in your district.
Yes.
And I think it would be good for traffic flow and maybe business development and things like that. But again, takes time to get things through.
Certainly traffic flow, and one thing, COVID changed part of the traffic flow out there. Prior to that, Church Mutual had a hell of a lot of people, so did the high school, coming in and out of those streets up there every day, and that was going to be one of the big drivers, was running 6th Street over to Pine Ridge Avenue and then out. And
Sure.
I don't know if that changed the priority or not. I know we talked about running Pine Ridge north to G too.
Right, exactly. Pushing that out and just getting a better looped system. But
I think right now you've got the right person for the city engineer's job in there, and I think he could take that project through if he could get some people on the city government to collaborate with him and try to figure a way to do it.
Sure. Well, something to talk about, and I'm sure the 1st District Alderman of the future is going to have that opportunity to do that. So,
absolutely.
Bill, good luck in the election coming up. Thank you for running, and thank you for sharing some thoughts with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, good.
All right.